I don't know how many degrees outside, but whatever it is, the thermometer is obviously stuck at ridiculous. But of all the demonstrations that I was told to see today, this one was the most highly encouraged.
It's really all about the heat, one, and step A before B. If you get to C and you didn't do A or B, you probably can't get back to it. But here's one as it's a little bit further along. You can see after I get it coned down, I split it into 4s and start working these petals out. This one's just got one left. But it gives you an idea of how this is made. And what you have to do is, as you go along, just focus on one thing at a time. So the first thing I'm going to focus on is getting this to net down. Now I started it under the power hammer at home. I don't have a cone swedge. Cone swedge would be awesome, but in that I don't do much with pipe, and this is I just started with these little pieces you see here. I haven't taken the time to make one, but now that I think I might be making this a real thing, then I'll make a cone swedge so that I'm put on my power hammer, and as it comes down, it'll be sloped like this, so that as I put the pipe in, it'll make that cone shape. So at the moment, I'm making a cone shape by hand. So I'm going to heat this. Now again, this is going to be in the, it's all about the pipe. I'll use this hammer, and this one. This hammer has a slight radius. I like that because it moves the metal. This one has both, and I'll use this to straighten it up. Now most of this sort of thing is made with the left hand because the right hand goes up and down in one place. So the left hand is the one that's guiding the material under the hammer. So I'm going to be using out like this. And the left hand moves this work under the hammer. Watch the heat now. I don't know if you'll be able to see it as people with eyes do. The bronze, the fortune color for bronze is color on my ribbon. I'm wearing my AirPods, so that's a little too bright. About the color of the bottom of the board with that red on it is about the fortune temperature. You can get it hotter. It can heat into the oranges. And I definitely know that you can push the color, but you can destroy $50 worth of bronze so fast by getting it a little bit too hot. So I try to keep it in a dark orange and red, and then I'll reheat it, as opposed to the yellow and bright orange. That work with me, they take a little more work than I do, and they'll get it sometimes up a little bit hotter. And I just tested it. There's a good range there. I'm a little more careful, and I put that up to be I'm the one that stands for it, so that's probably why. And there's just young people, they do a great job, so part of the game. I don't get irritated at them and I lose some of the stuff. Because it's hard work. They do a good job. Okay, see that color? I can drop the bottom forging range and I can hammer it at that. Let me do a little bit. And I'm going to hold this at what is that? This is a 35 degrees. The hammer is going to be hard. I see that it's cracking. Iffy. This is working on the demo press. That's alright. I always learn more when the problems start. Because then you got to know how to fix it. And if nobody ever made a mistake while I was learning, I I'd have to make them all and then reinvent the wheel. So I've got a crack in this, so I have to be real careful. My guess as to how I got it, it would be in the power hammer stage. I might have hammered it too long, would be my first thought. Coming down pretty slowly, but it's coming down, and it's also cleaning itself up as I go. Now, if I had that cone wedges we were talking about, it would probably draw down nice and smoothly. In theory, it would. I haven't used one yet, but I know that it should do that. There's a crack right there. As long as it stays down there, it'll be alright for the gut. Half inch. I want it to draw down to where I have a 3/8 inch hole so that I can put a stem in there when I finish. And the stem is going to be a 3/8 inch piece. So again, I'm lifting it with my left hand. And I'm not slamming this, as you can see. You can hit this a lot further, but I don't need to. I don't want to break it. So it's slow. It's a little tedious, but it's worth it. As you can see by the finished flower, it's really pretty when you get done. Bronze is interesting. It'll just disappear before your eyes right in the fire. You look away. So whenever I'm working with bronze, I pretty much glued to the forge or wherever I'm working. I don't take my eyes off of it. It's in the fire. I don't answer the phone without taking it out of there. I don't look around. I'm just focused. I've almost got it down to where I want it. And I've got a little piece of 3/8 that I'll measure with. The handle was doing the bottom part. Maybe not quite there yet. It's pretty close. So I'm going to stop there. Because that's drivable, and that's what I want. I want to be able, I need to drive fit, because I don't want to drill a hole and put in a rivet. I don't want to weld it. I don't want to solder it. You could do all of those things. I don't want to TIG it. I want it to have a perfect fit, and wherever that one is, over there, is the finished one over there? I think you'll see that that's a pretty close fit. This is a little bomb. You see the hot water come out of that? I should really have held on to that by its side, like this, when I put that in the water. Let's see if we can hold it. Because then the water would have shot out instead of up my arm. And I hopped back in time. So, let's see. I'm going to need all these little parts up here. Once that's cut, then I'll clean these, I'll heat them and bend them back a bit so that I can cut the points off. So I clean them up, fold them over, and then I start hammering out the petals. So I'm going to use my cross beam. It looks like a bulldozer. And I'll bring it somewhere on here. This looks like a good spot. And I'm going to start moving it this direction. I have to keep an eye on it because obviously those other petals now are going to heat it very quickly. So as we go, every time I think they're getting hot, I just do this. Making sure I got my tools where I want them. And again, if that were steel, you'd go, holy cow, that stuff is cold. That's not steel. Now this is made with a left hand. The left hand is moving this underneath this seam. So just put the pattern on it. And get it hot again. It's hard for you to see the color, I'm sure. By the time I get over here in the light, it's a different color. Bringing that petal out. So I'm essentially chasing the material in front of that peen. So as I'm working it, the hammer's going up and down in one place, and I'm moving the metal with my left hand, so it's just kind of spreading it out. Okay, it's hot again, making sure I know where my hammer is. Go into the same place. I got to do it here, though. I'm sorry for those that are behind me. So I'm going to take one more heat on it, I think. And I like that they're not all the same size. Again, I like that. The copper comes to the top. You'll see some of that pink color. That's the copper coming to the top of the bronze. This bronze doesn't have any lid in it. But if you are a quick hitter and you do a lot of steel and some bronze, then you're going to want to keep that well in mind because it looks like steel in there. So you forget. And that's hot. the light in it. And that's really all it is. You're just creating an illusion. I'm going to do the one on the far side now. I can fix that stem so it could actually lay on a desk or a table as a single piece, or it could go on, it could go on a gate, it could go on a chandelier, and it could have a front or a back or whatever. Again, the water's going to shoot out of that. Here I know where my hammer is. It gets hot. It's red. You can't see it. As soon as I pull it out of the light, I see it. You can't see the heat. That's the interesting thing about bronze is the color goes. Now, aluminum, use a stick, and when the stick shows black on the aluminum is the correct temperature to hammer it at. Bronze, I go by the heat, and depending upon the light in the shop, my shop doesn't have any lights that are on here today. Depending upon the light, the heat will be different. So I go by what it is in here. By the time I get out here, it's going to be a different color, and I get that. So I'm pretty careful. Now you can get this much more orangey, as you might want to call it. But I don't want to burn out the petals, and I don't need to get it any hotter. So I'm going to watch it, keep it turned. That it's hot, these petals being way forward are already red. It's hot up here. There's a lot of heat coming on. On a lot of things is what keeps people from doing some of this sort of thing. And I remember when I first started, I didn't know anything about, I didn't know what a drill press was. I started in the 70s. Women didn't do this sort of thing then. In fact, girls weren't allowed in the boys' end of the mechanic shop. We didn't go down there. My dad had a neon sign business, and I never did see the inside of the shop. Girls just didn't go there. It just wasn't done. And so when it came to knowing how to put things like this together, he had his own sporting goods store, and he was a gunsmith and at a sporting goods store, did run rail repair and all that sort of thing. And I would design stuff and have it all ready, but I had no clue how to put it together. I didn't know how to do that. And so it was like I had to learn all of that kind of thing. And I found that the hardest part for me was figuring out, okay, that's all cool, but how are we going to get that together? That was the hardest thing for me. And for some, that's the easiest thing, and getting the flower becomes the hardest thing. So, we all have our Achilles. Pull this little guy fortunate in there. There we go. So the fit on all the railings and things that we make, they have to fit within, a 64th of an inch. It's too big of a gap. It has to be on. And we're a long ways away from our job site. We're 9 hours. So measuring, and when we're going to put it together, and does it fit? Almost fit, does not fit. It has to fit. It has to fit tight. So that's become, part of this struggle. Okay, good. See how tight that is now? So when I drag that in there later, I'll be able to get that hold. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. Let that cool down. Now let's work with this guy. By the time you get over there and get all those things stuffed into it, it's going to be much cooler. It'll be plenty hot. back. So because I didn't have that totally closed up, I'm going to unroll that. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to roll it again. And those guys will be cool enough by the time I get done with that, that I'll be able to pick them up. And do it. I like to find, you don't have to do this, but you know, it's part of the game. Because I always feel like this. You can't get too upset because it's what it is. Can't change that part. So I'm going to get that hot, and I'm just going to drop that shoulder back a little bit. It just looked like I needed another 1/8 inch. So, and an 1/8 inch, you think, oh, what's an 1/8 of an inch? Well, you can see that an 1/8 of an inch was a big deal. Because I couldn't get those guys to roll in there. So, we start out with a little flat spade again. And I'll roll it up. Start over. And I found that it takes less time for me to do it again than it does if I force it and I don't have the courage to do it. Little curls and things are made with the left hand. Every time I tap with the right hand, I gotta move the left one. Otherwise it's a square spot in there. Okay, bigger hole. Fit. But in the end, it'll be pretty big. Okay. This is still kind of hot, which is good. As long as they stay in there, I'm not fussing around over here. Now it's going to stay. It doesn't have to be way tight at this point, because you're going to make it tighter. So I'm going to move these a little bit to make sure that we don't have them even. I don't want them to be even. I want them to all be in there, but I don't want them to all be even. See, you can still see them wiggling around. That's pretty much. Okay, so when I get it about like that, they're still moving, that's okay. I'm going to heat them with a torch and pull them forward. That tightens everything up. Locks in, so can't get anywhere. Idea is to heat these guys and move them forward without breaking them off. And they burn off very quickly. For those of you who do any welding, you know how welding rod works in the heat. It's like gone very quickly. Now the greater heat of this torch is about 1/4 of an inch in front of that cone flame, so I'm going to be careful not to do it quite that close. And then just keep fussing around with it. Again, like I said, this is a fuss factor or a fiddle factor or time consuming or all those verbs and adjectives. But it is worth it when you get done. This is probably a non-conventional way to make these things. You know what? I found it works. Well, except for that. I'll put that in. It's right back here again. So we're going to porcupine, isn't it? And then you drop one, get that back in here. Otherwise we have even number. Now probably nobody's going to nitpick it if there's an even number. But I know that it's, that's a little porcupine right there, which is good. It's like a budget. It's what you shoot for. If it doesn't work, you know, don't worry about it. I'm going to leave it at this. So now I'm going to get this hot. I'm going to form that so that they come around the, what do you call that? I guess it would be the center of what is going to be the flower. I want it to come around the front, but I also want it to be good and tight so that the stamens don't move. Because it's interesting, and you may not have grabbed one of those guys, but it seems to be pretty hard to resist not trying to move those stamens. So even those of us who make this stuff know that that's pretty normal. So if you get grandchildren, or children of any age, that's the first thing you're going to do. They just don't mean to find a vulnerable part on your work, but they will do that. They'll find it every time, and it's going to be stuff like this, so that you end up at some point with a flower with no stain in it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. They can be as silly as they want. You know, that's just part of it. And then to get those cool little balls, this stuff will head up itself. Unless of course you want it to. In the front of that cone on the flank. And the gas moving off of it turns it into this little ball. And of course, if you're not careful, you burn off the one you just made, which is, okay, we're going to shorter one. So just keep going around there until you think you've ended up with all of them done without losing any. It's like lighting birthday candles on a cake. When the kid's 3, it works pretty good, but by the time you get to be 50, you might burn up the cake before the candles do it. We don't use candles online anymore.
One candle.
Yeah. I'm going to be 72 here in just a little bit. The things I guess I trade, if I could change things, it'd be the times I could have made a difference in somebody's life and I didn't take that chance. That's kind of thinking on that one. Okay, so once you're done with your torch, let's get rid of it right away. Let's see, yes. Okay, so there, and we may find after all that work, she doesn't fit. Now, normally I would want to buff this before I put this thing in there. So let me just take a minute with that wire brush. I can't get it perfect like I would if I was at home, but I can get some of this off, and I can't get it once I put these stamens down inside there. So this is the most dangerous tool in your shop. And so whenever I use a wire brush, I put it on a variable speed. Now, there's not a lot of these power tools that have variable speeds, but this Metabo is a good one. Bosch has one. The Makita one, they don't last a long time, and they're a flat handle, and when you move it in your hand, the thing goes off. So I love this. And I still catch it, but at least I save my brushes. I don't dig up my work quite as much. I have a big one on a bench at home that we would use for this, but obviously in a shop setting like this, I never know if they have one, if what they have is going to be safe. Since I've taken all the guards off of them, I'm not sure what safe is, but see how that's prettier, just taking that a small amount of time to brush it off. Now I'm going to leave it dark down in the middle, kind of like if I were to paint a flower, do a painting of it. It has light and dark highlights. See how hot that is? I didn't touch it. Still hot. We'll get it with this. Now you can't see the inside of the stem, so I'm not going to be too worried about that. But you can see these guys. Now you can tickle this stuff and get all of this color off of it, but you know what? I kind of like it. Like, it reminds me of the light and dark highlights if you're going to be doing a painting. I like all of that. Now I have a punch that I hope I brought. And if I do, I'll use something else, but I think I did. I intended to do it, see if it's in here. Yes, here it is. This seems to be a real handy guy. So here's how this works. See how that's going to drag down in there. And it's not a gigantically perfect fit yet. But see how these stamens go around that round guy. When I drive that in there, this is soft. It is silicon bronze rod, but it tends to be softer.